an impact
that's
while you're here.
not going to be me.
Yes,
That's
good.
just not.
Good.
And so, and I would remind myself of that every time I had to do a really scary thing. Because it's that knowing what you want, knowing where you're going, that gives you that little bit of courage that you need to take that next step. And it's only by taking those steps that you get yourself where you want to go. Now, not every step is going to be all roses and sunshine. You're going to run into problems, but that's okay. You just have to realize that that's normal.
And I'm glad you're talking about that. I think I said that at the beginning of the show there, where some people think it's going to take 4 weeks to get somewhere, or 8 weeks. They could fall off the wagon 8 times in that 8 weeks, and it doesn't mean they're not going to succeed in that long stretch of things. It means that you've just got to get back up, get a plan together, and understand that the direction that you're going in is the right direction for you.
Yes.
A lot of people try to duplicate something else, and they say, well, my sister did it like this, or my, next door neighbour, they told me this is the only way to go. But really, it's down to where you have to go. And again, that doesn't always get welcomed by other people until they see it. When they see you've done something and they go, oh, now I know. That's put a spring back in your step. That's made you more cheerful. Oh, I didn't know you liked doing that. And sometimes when you want to do something and work with people doing different things, you didn't realise you had that talent to change people's lives. You didn't realise that. You think, oh, I didn't know that one thing I was going to say to them is life-changing for them. And they hadn't thought of that way. So, when you talk about being, the self-critic, you now know with your experience in life and things that you went through, you are now that person that can advise people and help them and help them live with no regrets. Nobody wants to get to the end of, what I call the 100-year plan. They don't want to sit in the bed and go, oh, I wish I'd done this differently. So how did you become more comfortable with taking these risks that were holding you back previously?
Well, it's just the experience of doing it, right? It's like anything. You practice and you get better at it. And as long as you realize that, you're going to run up against roadblocks and obstacles, and that's part of the deal, you don't let that dissuade you. You don't let that be your end point, right? Because that's when real failure happens, is when you let it stop you. Now, of course you have to assess, am I doing this thing that I'm wanting to do for the right reasons, right? And if you aren't, if you discover that you're doing it because, your 7th grade teacher said you should be, a teacher or, whatever else it is, that it's not really your goal in your life, then it's fine to say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm closing the book on that. But if what you're doing is something that you truly want and is important to you and speaks to you, and the fact that you run into a few obstacles, you can't let that deter you. It just means that there's something there for you to learn. And once you learn it and regroup and say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me figure out, how to make this work better. You try it again. Sometimes when I talk about this, I think of the little Roomba vacuum cleaner. That little circle thing.
I've seen that. I've never bought one, but I've seen it.
I don't have one either. But, the idea is that it kind of bumps into the wall, or it senses the wall's right there, and it goes, oh, okay, well, we're going to turn this direction. And it moves off in a different direction, continuing to clean the carpet, and that's kind of how it goes, back and forth.
That's actually a really good description of how things can be. No, you go, boom, okay, this isn't the right way. Oh, that's not the right way. I mean, you were just saying now about how different things come to teach you something. I had a great conversation with somebody the other day that said to me, something that I discussed with them, and they said, I don't know what the lesson is right now, Sarah, that you're going to learn, but one day you'll go, that's why I'm going through this today, because this is teaching me that. And she said, you need to know that, is that whatever we're going through at this moment, at some point, near or far, you're going to go, that's why I had to go through that, because it's taught me this on the other side of things. And that just proves that if you don't try anything, or you just sit back and do, dare we say, nothing, we don't want to go through a life of doing nothing, which can be just sheer boredom. And, another thing is, if we want to have this long life. And this is why I really associated with wanting to have you on as a guest, because I do believe in positivity and confidence, and longevity will give you that long life. Because I have read a little bit about and seen some older people that said, and I love older people that I speak to. They've got so much knowledge for me. And even as a little girl, and I was 10 years old, I would want to sit and talk to the 70-year-old man at the wedding. He had far more stuff to tell me that was more interesting than the 20-year-old that was dancing on the dance floor. I want to sit with the old boy over there. And one thing they talked about was, about retirement. And they said, oh, if you retire and sit in the chair, that's it. You're dead a year later. You've got to keep going. Just because you've given up your not your day job, but you've given up that part of your life, you need to go into those years and keep doing something. And I learned that as a child from people. And then as I've obviously gone through my life and spoke to people coming up to retirement, they want to be on the golf course. They even want to jump out of planes and do different things. They want to do all of that because they're right. The ones that sit in the chair and go, no, that's it. I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to do this at any age. They become quite dormant in that feel of what they're doing, and it becomes very numb for them. It becomes boring for them. And I'm not saying you necessarily sit and die in the chair, but that concept of your life is coming to the end, it's not feeling good, it's not doing that. So I know we talked, about the 5 regrets of dying. Some people probably avoid reading that book because they don't want to have that reality put right in their face where they say, oh, all these 5 things I think are going to happen to me. What am I going to do to change that? So when you're talking and coaching with these different ladies, how do you get them to believe that, okay, this is the time now that you need to take a hold of this? What's holding you back? What is really inside of you that you want to do? How long does it take for someone to kind of get there and say, okay, Joanne, this is what I'm thinking of?
Well, everyone is different in terms of how quickly things become apparent to them, how much they're willing to kind of dig in and dissect things and pull it apart and say, okay, well, what's behind that? What is that thing that I'm thinking in the back of my mind that I'm not even aware of that's keeping me from seizing this opportunity, from doing this thing that I would really love to do? It's it takes some work. And you have to be willing to do that. And that can be scary for people sometimes. And I think that's why having a coach to be there as a sounding board, someone that can help you see the strength in what you're doing and the great skills and things that you bring to the table. I mean, after a life, you have so many experiences that I think we forget, all the things that we've accomplished in our lives. And, women in general tend to downplay any of our own accomplishments. We're all like, oh, well, I was just lucky, or, oh, they liked me, or, I don't know how I did that.
But they did amazing things, you're right. And then we have to kind of pump them back up to say, you did this. And like, for instance, Joanne, I will never jump out of a plane. You couldn't convince me. You'll never convince me. And I will never have. So, we talk, how can we do that? Never. You couldn't even pay me $1 million to jump out of a plane. Okay, so there's under no circumstance I will do that. So that's why when I saw you were doing that last year, I was like, whoa. She's good. She is stepping out of her comfort zone for sure. And I think you said, when I watched the video, I think you said you'd do it again.
I would.
You said that, I think, in the video. You'd do it again. I was like, crazy girl.
It wasn't without its fears. I had to. You should have seen the conversation or heard the conversation in my mind as I was driving to the airfield.
Oh, you're talking yourself out of it. Okay.
Well, you can always turn around. You don't have to go. And it's like, no. I've committed to doing this. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm just not going to hear any of those other voices until I get out of the plane.
And I've posted on Facebook, so my friends are watching me jump out of that plane.
That's right.
I've counted myself. People are watching. People are waiting for it. I cannot just write that little post. I chickened out. People are not going to have the faith in me. So, we all knew you were doing this. So we were all watching. So that must have helped. I hope that helped you jump a little further out of the edge there, because we were watching you do that. Well, so something like that.
And it's interesting what you say. So for me, jumping out of a plane was important to me. It was a goal that I wanted. For you, it's not.
It isn't. No bucket list. No bucket list for that one. Yeah.
But the important thing is for you to find out, for each person to find out what their their thing is, if you will. What it is that really moves them and drives them. Because that's what's going to give you the energy and the courage to dig a little deeper, to keep working, and to take those steps out of your comfort zone.
Now, tell me the importance, Joanne. I believe this. This is why you're such a great guest for me today. I believe, I talk about the top 5. I talk about your top 10 people, because sometimes your top 5 people happen to be your immediate family. And sometimes they're with you by default, if default is the right word to use. But they're there anyway, those top 5. So when I say top 5 people, I mean top 5, I guess, influence people. But it could turn then into the top 10. And I talk a lot about the top 10 and the top 5 people in your life. Explain to me why you think that's also important, to get those like-minded people around you.
It's so critically important, because you need that outside support and validation from people who you can trust and who have your best interests at heart, because life is going to give you things to stumble over. And when that happens, you got a couple of choices. If you just hold it in and just say, I'm strong, I can deal with this. Yeah, this is tough, but I'm okay. I'm good. I'll figure this out. Okay, well, some people can muscle their way through that. But to have a steady diet of that is pretty tough. At some point you go, wow, this is just too much for me to carry. I think I'm done. But if you have people around you who understand your goals and where you want to be, who want to support you, who have similar goals in their own lives, then when you feel comfortable and you can share what you're going through with someone else, then that changes everything. That lightens your load so much, and you get the energy and the boost you need to say, yeah, okay, that was hard, but I'm good. I really am good, and I can now move forward, because basically my cup's been filled back up. Right? All those little obstacles and those little difficulties that come along, it takes energy. It takes resolve. It takes courage. And, your cup for those things, it's not an overflowing fountain forever. It gets empty, and you need to replenish that. And that's what those top 5, top 10 people in your life will help you do.
And I honestly agree with that, because, I talk to people about getting rid of people that don't deserve to be in the top 10. And people sometimes struggle with that, but they do it. And you could talk to them as soon as a week later or even a month later, and they already feel the release of life being better and just saying, okay, I feel good. And when they, I'm in a really, really great mastermind of a very bunch of motivated entrepreneur women. And anything we bring to our group, that's massive. No one ever says, how are you going to do that? What are you thinking? We say, whoa, when's that starting? What's the plan? When can we see it? How can we be involved? We have a different mindset, and we look at something and we say, okay, post that in the group. Let's have a look what's going on. We never ever say, and it took a time to find groups like that you sometimes fit into, and you sometimes have that same mentality, and you talk about like-minded women. So when I talk about big things that I want to achieve, there isn't one person in that group that says, Sarah, that's a bit much. I don't know how you're going to achieve that. They actually 6 weeks later say, how's that coming? Didn't see that moving yet. And I'm on it. Sometimes they kind of get them back at me and saying, I thought you were starting that now. I am. You're right. I need to get onto that today. So, I really agree that when you surround yourself with people that really support you and are rowing the boat with you, not drilling holes in the back and saying, oh, well, the boat's sinking. I don't know how it's sinking. But really, they know how it's sinking because they're drilling holes in the back. We need people rowing with us. Right. Now, one thing I'd love to ask you about, when you talked about, you signed up to do Centre Stage Live and you were going to be on stage speaking, and that's where I met you. That's where I saw the speech. Right. And I thought it went extremely well. It was interesting, engaging. You looked confident. And I think people can look confident and engaging on stage if they know what they're talking about. So I know there's that nervousness, and I know there's that different things, which again, you didn't show the nervousness or anything. You looked extremely confident. But I think it's because you had a great story to tell. And you had that urge to share that story to help people. And I think that comes across. Definitely, that's how I felt watching you. She's got a great story to tell. And listen to what she has to say about that. So tell us a little bit about your speech. If somebody was going to get you to come to their event to speak and you speak about, you know, the end, the candles. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, that speech was